I guess you saw, or I would imagine you saw some of the horror of the orange ape addressing the graduated 2020 graduate, I'm sorry, yeah, 2020 graduating class of West Point cadets. It was, I don't know how to describe it. I've never seen anything so miserable in my life. The speech was about as inspiring as a couple of saltine crackers in a glass of water. There was nothing there. But that's, whoever wrote it for Trump is Trump's butt boy, Trump's sycophant. So obviously they're going to write it the way Trump would say it. And like another commentator, I wish to hell this orange ape would learn how to properly use the teleprompter. But the speech was shit. Trump stood there and talked to these 1,000+ cadets who had been forced to come back to participate in a photo op for this miserable fucker, just like the people were forced to participate in his last photo op at the Church of Presidents next to the White House. You remember that, right? When was it? Over a week ago now. Now, Trump at West Point, of course, this will wind up in his re-election video, if it hasn't already. And then to watch 1,100 cadets have to approach 2 by 2 to salute this son of a bitch. To salute this son of a bitch. They're graduating from West Point Academy. These young, soon-to-be Army officers. They're graduating from West Point Academy. The United States Army beat the fuck out of the Army of the Confederate States 150 years ago. So while Trump is standing there playing his little game, this 6 times draft dodging prick playing his photo op games, I wonder how many of those cadets were aware that they were graduating from an institution that represented the army that defeated the treasonous fuckers that came roiling out of the South, insisting that human beings were not really human beings. And now Trump has refused to reconsider naming military installations around the country that inadvertently or deliberately were named after these Southern traitors, like Fort Hood, the largest military installation in the Western world, I think, named after Confederate traitors, treasonous dogs who should have been shot after the Civil War. They should have been tried, convicted, and shot for what they did. 700,000 Americans died because of them. But there he stood. He told the Army's newest officers on Saturday that they won't have to serve in endless wars being waged in faraway lands. Oh, Christ. But of course, he made no mention whatsoever of his effort in recent days to deploy active duty military to the streets of American cities. Peter Baker and Zach Montague had a bit of reporting on this at the New York Times. And as you know, this commencement ceremony at West Point had been postponed because we're dealing with a pandemic. People are dying. Thousands of people are dying. But the Orange Ape insisted on moving forward with it against all rational advice from public health officials who have forgotten more about this than Trump will ever fucking know. And there he stood trying to present himself as a great supporter of the armed forces because he hadn't done shit, but he had signed bills that increased spending on tanks and aircraft and other weapons, even as he said they shouldn't be used in foreign conflicts You miserable fucker. Where should they be used, Mr. Ape? In the United States, huh? Trump said it's part of his or somebody's speech. Quote, "We are ending the era of endless wars. Its place is a renewed, clear-eyed focus on defending America's vital interests." Well, that's a complete contradiction right there. Our vital interests mean endless wars. Oh, Christ. Back to the ape. Quote, "It is not the duty of U.S. troops to solve ancient conflicts in faraway lands that many people have never heard of, like me." I added that. He went on, quote, "We are not the policemen of the world, but let our enemies be on notice. If our people are threatened, we will never, ever hesitate to act. And when we fight from now on, we will only fight to win." Yeah, we have fought so many times to lose, you ignorant piece of orange waste, you. God damn. Now, of course, he didn't talk in the least about the more important issue of the last few days, when he threatened to order active duty American troops to go after peaceful protesters, Americans, very similar to Tiananmen Square. You remember during the uprising in Tiananmen Square, the students there, until they were mass murdered, insisted that the People's Liberation Army would never, under any circumstances, open fire on the people until they did. And the Chinese People's Liberation Army insisting it would never fire on Chinese citizens until it did. Anyway, despite Trump's sick, fucked up order, his almost order, to order American troops to fire on American citizens, Defense Secretary Mark Esper and General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, successfully resisted the Orange Ape, which now has left a very deep schism between the so-called commander-in-chief, the ape, and the United States military. And mark my words, truth seekers, as my second grade teacher used to say, mark my words, this is just the beginning of this break between the so-called commander-in-chief, in this case the Orange Ape, and the U.S. military. General after general, combat veteran after combat veteran, retired, yeah, except for Milley, have come out in the past, I don't know what year, but in the past year, but especially in the past couple of weeks, and made it very clear that this rotten Orange Ape fucker is destroying the relationship between the United States military and the United States government. And Trump doesn't give a fuck. He couldn't care less. So yeah, there's a deep schism now between the commander-in-chief and the military. And it will get worse. Until it finally erupts. And that day is coming. Because the military is grounded in 240 years of tradition. And Trump is a pig-fucking moron. And the United States military will not allow this to continue. So we're on the cusp of something that we've never had to confront before. So stay aware. Stay awake. In his filthy speech, Trump alluded to what's going on because of the killing of George Floyd. Only did he allude to it by elliptically noting that West Point graduates were among those who, quote, fought and won a bloody war to extinguish the evil of slavery, end quote. And now this orange fucker, and I'm sure every graduating Army, soon-to-be commissioned officer who heard that had to be thinking, well, you hypocritical motherfucker, you. And then Trump went on to say that these West Point graduates were among those who fought and won a bloody war to extinguish slavery against a treasonous bunch of assholes that came boiling out of the South. Oh, I know a couple of them went to West Point, these Southern generals. I don't give a shit. They were still slavers. And they've had military installations named after them. And this pig, this orange ape, says, well, I wouldn't even consider renaming some of the installations that were named after these treasonous dogs who should have been shot. And then he said that West Point graduates also were, quote, at the forefront of ending the terrible injustice of segregation during the civil rights era. What the fuck is he talking about? He's talking about when Eisenhower and Kennedy had to send troops into the South so that black students could attend a fucking university in Arkansas or Alabama. Jesus Christ. And then Trump said this to the cadets, quote, what has historically made America unique is the durability of its institutions against the passions and prejudices of the moment. When times are turbulent, when the road is rough, what matters most is that which is permanent, timeless, enduring, and eternal, end quote. What the fuck? What is he? Those words don't belong in the ape's mouth. He doesn't. Ask him what the word durability means. Ask him what the phrase America's uniqueness is its durability of its institutions against the passions and prejudices of the moment. He has no fucking idea. He should sit down and at least read what he's going to say as it pops up on the goddamn teleprompter. But no, that would take too much time. And then, interesting, neither the Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, nor the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, neither one of them were on hand. Although you have to be aware now that some of Trump's piggish sycophants insisted that the decision not to be there was made before the latest conflict with the orange ape. And the irony, of course, is that Mark Esper, the Secretary of Defense, is a West Point graduate. And he sent a video congratulating the seniors played on jumbo video screens on the field. Why would a Secretary of Defense who is a West Point graduate not attend a West Point graduating ceremony? I'll give you, 20 seconds. Your answer will be graded for originality, by the way. Time's up. The orange ape included in his speech, according to Peter Baker, who wrote this for the Times, along with Zach Montague. Here's what it says. Trump included in his speech some of his favorite claims from the campaign trail, including taking credit for rebuilding a military that he said was, quote, totally depleted, end quote, when he took over, and investing over $2 trillion in the armed forces. As usual, he's full of shit. Lying fucker. Military spending has increased substantially since he took office, from $607 billion a year to $738 billion a year. But in using the $2 trillion claim, Trump gave himself credit for the entire military budgets over 3 years rather than just the increases. And something that you have to know, I can't think of a year, there may have been one or two, in the past 20 when the military budget has gone down. But Trump is such an ignorant son of a bitch. And his ability to think, what little there is, stops at the inside wall of his skull. He just assumes that everybody is as dumb as he is. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to the ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.